Welcome to the Senior Showcase panel discussion. We're talking about transit today, the transportation panel, getting from A to B. And this is all in partnership with Age Friendly Peterborough and the Chamber of Commerce as we present our annual Seniors Showcase. Our showcase sponsor is Trent Security, the workshop sponsor, Living Well Home Medical Equipment, our community sponsor, the Gardens of Peterborough, and the exhibitor sponsor, Oldies 96.7 and ptbotoday.ca. And it's my pleasure to introduce Jane Culbert. Jane is with Age Friendly Peterborough, and she'll be facilitating our discussion on transit today. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Stu. And thank you to our transportation panelists here today. We have, and if you can give us a wave, Lori Stratton, who is the manager with Peterborough Transit, Robin St. Pierre, who's operations supervisor with Peterborough Transit, Anna Courier, who is the climate change coordinator with the Township of Selwyn, Catherine Pink, who's the director of services with Community Care Peterborough, and Sue Sauve with a transportation demand management planner with the city of Peterborough. We'll start with Lori. Lori, tell us what services that Peterborough Transit provides and how have you adapted your services to meet the needs of the aging population?
So I would say that thanks so much, Jane. Never more so than during the pandemic has the importance of community integration and change management has been the key tool at Transit to connect and communicate with our community. So it wasn't just about offering more services or delivering services in a different way, such as health and safety during the pandemic. It's come down to how we communicate and consult about those services and changes. So partnerships with the city's Accessibility Advisory Committee, Community Care, local advocacy groups like Age Friendly Peterborough and Council for Persons with Disabilities has really given us the unique advantage of talking about everything from transit policy perspectives to transit access through the lens of lived experience. So over the last year or so, we've developed working partnerships with a lot of our seniors facilities to target specific supports for their residents, which included creating and implementing a transit travel training program, which has been offered broadly to all our customers. Robin will be speaking more about that. We've developed a series of YouTube videos, which have all of our routes for a virtual ride-along experience. And then in addition to that, turn-by-turn audible and visual navigation tools. And this was done again in partnership with members of the community because those are the people we reach out to as our subject matter experts. And again, community outreach was critical. Working with our partners and key stakeholders, we've been able to develop a citywide network and resource list to share information that's timely and important because they hold the keys to everybody who's traveling and they're the most connected to those folks. Our customer service team has actually been realigned to provide in-person customer ambassador services. And again, I know Robin will be talking a little bit more about our transit mentorship program and the modification of our application and approval requirements for accessible van service. And I think those have been huge changes for us, but it's also been about making some strategic improvements and future planning as we continue to build transit options that don't just reflect the community needs, but are also based on really solid established planning principles that'll carry everybody forward into the future. But service changes were important. Community buses, which everyone knows are strategically designed to connect seniors and mobility customers with key essential travel destinations. We actually added additional vans to the service. We increased the flexibility and availability of day-to-day and day-of bookings. We increased community bus service from 1 to 3 routes and the hours of service by more than 2 hours daily. And we made some different choices about how to deliver services. So to keep those trips on time and reliable for the majority of customers, but still make sure that we were servicing areas that regular buses couldn't serve, we've used TransCab to make sure that those folks are able to get that sort of tailored experience, particularly with respect to seniors and people with mobility challenges, families, folks with strollers, packages and that, who need to get themselves and their belongings from where they're going right back home. And then particularly when inclement weather is a factor in the ability to travel to transit stops. I think what's interesting is one of our biggest uptakes has been on the Google Transit app Trip Planner, which our seniors are loving and using because you can do it from the comfort of your own home with your computer, even if you're not a smartphone person. And again, we've also got virtual ticket sales. We use Hotspot, which is the same service that the city uses for our parking. And Hotspot is a real responsible community investor. For low income or accessible clients, the whole program fee is waived, the annual fee for all your ticket purchases. So that's really helpful. And you can do it from the safety and security of your own home, so you don't have to travel to a specific location. We did enhanced accessibility of our schedules. They're all CNIB reader friendly. We've worked on bus stop improvements to make people feel more safe and secure. Our cameras are installed and we expect those to be launched on our buses very soon. So people can feel really confident when they're traveling that they know that we're invested in a strategic outlook for transit safety. And probably one of the things everybody always wants to hear about, real-time bus tracking. It's on its way. That will really make not just trip planning easier, but also reducing people's wait times at stops, which for our seniors community is a really important feature. Again, I think looping back, the main thing for us has to learn to be out and about with customers within the community with a focus on listening, learning, and providing information.
Mm-hmm. I think that Peterborough Transit has just made leaps and bounds in the last year, and with many options for people to find out about routes, and especially with the accessibility of those options. Robin, and I know Lori started to mention about the Ride With Me program. Tell us about that and how, with what Lori mentioned, with all of these additional services such as the Google app, how the Ride With Me program teaches other people or particularly seniors of how to use those. Robin, you're muted.
Hi, thank you, Jane. So I'll just start off, first of all, with our accessible vans. We have those open to anybody who's unable to use conventional transit for some of all of their trips. We have 7 vans on the road and about 159 trips a day. One thing that we learned during the pandemic is the registration process. Lori was talking a little bit about that. It can be really challenging. So with consultation with our community partners, we decided we made some adjustments to facilitate the access. And create less stress, for seniors, like even just something as simple as leaving the house, and definitely finding a doctor was very difficult. So that's how we changed the process. So we were working with facility administrators, support workers, anybody who complete the applications to get them on the accessible vans. So now we have a lot of people that are using the vans that are able to now. But during that process, we noticed that a lot of the applicants said that they would be able to ride conventional transit if they had some sort of transit training. So that's where we've developed Ride With Me. We developed that to meet this need and provide the customers with all the tools that they need to travel with some confidence. Once the lockdown's over and we're able to proceed, we had planned on training our mentors last month, but we couldn't do that. So we have a bunch of mentors that have agreed to work with us. So once the lockdown's over, we'll launch the program, and anyone who requests or benefits from the program will be able to use it. We'll use transit staff as well as members of the community. Several community groups have shown interest with the program. And what's great about it is that these mentors will have their lived experience. So we will be setting up travelers with mentors who can relate to them. So seniors would be set up with a senior, or somebody who's visually impaired could be set up with a visually impaired, or somebody has experience in dealing with visually impaired travel. So what would basically happen would be the customer would call in, they'd register with us. A member of our team will contact them and develop a plan to suit their needs. It can be something as simple as a travel package with a map, a schedule, some transfer information, or it can be a complete travel training session. That would cover everything from fare structure, where to purchase tickets, schedules, applications, mobile apps, transfers and what to do if anything go wrong. And we would give them some resources as who to call if they felt that they were in a bad spot or if they felt they were in trouble. We would let the customers select a couple of favorite destinations that they want to go to. We'd prepare their packages and schedule in-person meetings, and then we go over the packages with them. And that's where Ride With Me would come in. We'll set up, if needed, we'll set the customer up with a mentor. And to make it easier for them, to make it more comfortable for them, they can decide where they want to do their training. So we could do their training at a spot close to, at or near the residence, or we do have a training facility down at Transit, and we can have them come in there and they can have the full experience of seeing the vans, seeing all how the buses work and everything that happens there. And the beauty of it, if a person calls in and just wants an information package, while we're training them, if they've decided or the training suggests they could use some travel training, we will certainly set them up with a mentor, and then we'll get their trips. We'll take them out on their trips. But the mentors, once it's determined that they need a mentor, the mentors will meet up with the customer, take them through their trips up to 3 times until they're comfortable. We want them to make sure that they're comfortable and confident when they're finished with our training. The mentors will support, educate, and most importantly, listen. Because, every customer sees the trips through their own eyes. So, we want to make sure that the mentor is listening to what the customer is asking for and what they need, and they're going to get the confidence that they need for at the end of the time. At the end of the day, Ride With Me is all about providing a unique individual experience for all of our riders, and we'll work with them as many as we can. We're really looking forward to the process.
I'm looking forward to it launching as well. I think a lot of older adults may not be taking transit right now because they're not aware of the accessible features or how to do it. So they're reluctant to try on their own. So I think the Ride With Me program is really going to increase our ridership. Anna, you have the township of Selwyn has recently launched the rural transportation option. Tell us how the link is addressing the transportation needs of seniors living in Peterborough County.
Yeah, hello, and thanks for having me. So the Link Rural Bus Service, just a quick background, is funded through the Ministry of Transportation Community Transportation Grant Program. And we were awarded $1.4 million to implement this service. And our project partners include Curve Lake First Nation, Community Care Peterborough, and the City of Peterborough. And we're thrilled to have Peterborough Transit as the operator of the service. And we launched at the beginning of May. And the service is actually free through the month of May. Right now the granting period goes until March 2023. We have a submit an extension request, and we'll keep people updated on that. And the link is really a critical rural transportation service that's addressing a gap in rural transit that has been prevalent for quite some time. And, before the link, we had the Lakefield Workers Bus and also the Curve Lake Safe Travels Bus, which were 2 services, at least in the Selwyn Township Curve Lake area of the county, that was addressing rural transit needs, and were quite well utilized, but unfortunately with due to funding constraints, it did not continue. So we are really excited to offer this, especially in a rural area like Selwyn Township that has a high aging population. And partnering with Community Care, for example, being an organization that has a direct link to that target demographic, and sort of understands those needs. And community care is available, but not all folks need to utilize community care services. So having a rural transportation opportunity is pretty essential. And the latest Transportation Tomorrow survey data revealed that more people have registered vehicles, and so people are driving more. However, there's also almost 3 times the amount of taxi trips than there was in 2011. So people are taking taxis from, the township into the city of Peterborough. So there really is that need. People don't want to drive as much, or at least there are demographics that aren't. So we presume those are probably seniors and students, since we have more students in the area, and again, an aging population. So if there is, it's clear people need that link. And so, offering a public transportation alternative is safer. It can save people money. It also provides for some social interaction opportunity. And again, we're really thrilled to have Peterborough Transit as the operator, because it does provide that continuity of service and that direct link to the Peterborough Transit system. So people can use the link and then connect to another Peterborough Transit route. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that.
Where would someone find out about the routes?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of information online. We've got our webpage, the link webpage, as well, because we know that people do appreciate hard copy. We have hard copy, big fold out maps and flyers, and those are in a number of locations. And you can also buy your bus passes in these locations. So there are 2 locations at Trent, at Blackburn Hall and the Trent Central Student Association. As well, we have hard copies of those materials at the two community care offices, one in Ennismore and one in Lakefield, as well at the Peterborough Transit Downtown Terminal, and in Curve Lake at the Government Services Building. Yeah, so you can find information online, but if you're a hard copy person, then there are hard copies in a number of different locations.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Catherine, what's your role with community care, and what transportation services do you provide? Anna alluded a little bit to you having some options.
Yes. Hi, good morning. Yes, well, my role, I'm the Director of Services with Community Care Peterborough. I oversee the services and programs within the city of Peterborough, as well as 7 other local offices across Peterborough County. In terms of transportation, we have a large number of options for people who use our services. Typically, the people who use our services are seniors and people with physical disabilities. The number one popular transportation service, of course, is our volunteer driver transportation service, which is offered in each one of our 8 offices, but also, in those smaller communities like Warsaw and Douro. It's a unique opportunity for us to match the individual who's requesting the service with someone who may live close by or have a strong familiarity with their destination. Oftentimes we're coming in from the communities in the county into Peterborough, for example, PRHC, or to support someone in an appointment with their family physician. One of the other services that we provide through our volunteer transportation service is long distance travel. A large number of our clients are receiving services, for example, through Lake Ridge Health or St. Michael's, downtown Toronto. This is a long day of travel, and often the appointments take some time, but they take great comfort in knowing that their volunteer driver is waiting right outside the door or right outside in the parking lot for them to return them home safely. And often people don't feel that great after they've had treatments. So it's not just a drive, it's real companionship through some difficult times. So also within the city of Peterborough, you'll see our community care van driving around. It's a fully accessible vehicle and also equipped for these times of COVID. That van has the ability to support people with scooters, walkers, wheelchairs. The difference and the uniqueness of this service is that it's door to door. So there are other accessible transportation options available in Peterborough. I think where ours is just a little bit different is it's right into the person's driveway or the parking lot of their apartment building. One of the other transportation services we offer in the county, very similar to our community caravan, is the Caremobile. And we have 2 vehicles that serve all of the Peterborough County. And recently we've developed a program in partnership with the Peterborough Family Health Team. We refer to it and call it Access to Primary Care. And it's an enhanced transportation service, which would include a PSW that helps people get to their follow-up appointments after an illness or treatment, just to ensure that they're able to get their subsequent care and follow through with a treatment plan when they're perhaps not feeling very well or not feeling as strong as they would like to. So a PSW accompanies the individual and is there for whatever kind of support is needed, whether it's physical support or writing down notes about what the physician is explaining to the individual. Because sometimes there's a lot of information that comes all at once, and it's nice to have somebody there, even just to mark down when your next appointment is and to plan it with the receptionist at the physician's office at a time that's most convenient for the individual. So our services are unique in that they're able to meet the unique needs of each person who requests our service.
Community care was instrumental during COVID, especially with the grocery shopping and delivery, and bringing people to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And are those services still available?
Yes, those services still continue. We have traditionally, up until 2020, provided grocery shopping, grocery buddy. So we would support an individual in going to the grocery store, and to the degree that they needed support, we would help them with their grocery shopping. When COVID hit, that was the #1 service request was, I need somebody to help me get my groceries. And that we've been able to respond on a whole spectrum of response where someone has the ability to order their groceries, but just can't pick them up. So we would just provide the delivery service, whereas other individuals, we would take the time over the phone to get their grocery list, go to the grocery store, buy their groceries, and deliver them to their home. And that service continues to this day.
Mm-hmm. You provided an incredible service, and we thank you.
Oh, well, it's a testament to our volunteers. And that's the other thing I wanted to add was some of our volunteers stepped back during this time, and we appreciate that they did that. We also had a large number of new volunteers step forward, and it's with their help we were able to set up this program and keep it going. So thank you.
Lori, the greater Peterborough area tends to be very car focused. What are the biggest barriers to moving away from cars and more towards transit and other environmentally responsible modes of transportation?
So Jane, I will say that the reliance on cars is not unique to Peterborough, and that's why the government's really continued to focus on critical financial investment in transit. And the biggest challenge is choice, getting people out of their cars and becoming the first choice to travel using public transportation has to demonstrate, our responsibility is to demonstrate personal, community, and global benefits, because everyone's using public transit for different reasons. But every rider has one thing in common. They want transit to be fast, efficient, reliable, convenient, safe, and offer a lot of travel options. So all of the panelists today have presented incredible options that meet individual needs, and all of those options can integrate with a regular transit service. And our overarching goal right now is to be part of the solution for a sustainable and environmentally responsible future. And that means that we have to build for the future now and not just for this moment that we're in, especially these challenging times. So the transit study is in progress right now, and the route review has actually been completed. And that's the first big step, which was developing a route network that will allow for future change to be recommended for consideration to the city. Then the biggest challenge to achieving that transit advancement is that transit has to be a community priority. Transit infrastructure, stops, shelters, pads, alternative fuel buses, and the infrastructure that goes along with that, transit priority road and signal development, different transit services such as on-demand options, all of these require significant financial investment into transit and transit change. And I think, you know, the challenge is to reimagine transit. You take a holistic approach to integrate different mobility services and different types of vehicles, such as electric or hybrid buses, and focus on what the future of transit needs are, what you want it to look like, to sort of think really big and think about how we're going to get there together. So transit success then will be in all the laying out of the detail. Small things like choosing the right vehicle to carry us into the future. We know that we're the smart and responsible choice. We account for less than 1% of greenhouse gas emissions, and we consume only a quarter of the energy per person kilometer that automobiles actually use across Canada. And the other thing we hear now is that it's the choice of our children and our grandchildren. This is what they're thinking about when they're going to make choices about how they travel in the future. They don't want to own a car. They want to reduce their environmental footprint. And that's a lot of that's about mode share. And I know Sue will be talking a lot more about this. It includes walking. It includes trans cab. It includes taxis. And it also includes the introduction of bike racks. And right now we have a 5 bike rack pilot on our buses that are giving people the opportunity to just get a feel for how we could integrate cycling and public transportation and walking and hiking together. They are low profile bike racks, and they've been installed, as I said, on 5 of our buses, and they'll connect cyclists with all destinations across the transit network and even beyond. The challenge here will be to have a network structure that supports the use of bike racks into the future. As everyone knows, with our existing infrastructure, the grid style network has allowed us to move away from reliance on the limited, that sort of constrained downtown terminal property, and working with partners like Sue, who's a leader in cycling in our community. One of the other goals will be to create a path on how we're going to share the roads safely. And I know Sue will talk more about that. This year also, transit will participate in the city's alternative fuel study to determine what are the best options for vehicles and what are our infrastructure needs, what are the challenges for Peterborough that are specific to Peterborough as we look in the future. And I did want to say that, you know, customers can learn more about, and the community learn more about our services and ways that may work for them to connect on a personal level with us at the city's website in the transit services section. And we really do welcome that kind of outreach and that sort of contact with people.
And people can call it. So if they're not on the computer, then you have people who will answer the questions by phone.
Absolutely, we do, Jane. And also they can come down and talk to any of our customer service folks in person. We've created a really safe environment down here based on stringent COVID protocols. So people can actually connect in person, and a lot of people like to do that as well. Our bus drivers are a fountain of information. There's not much that we're doing, that they're kept very much in the know. They know the system, and they are a wonderful resource for our customers.
Great. Well, looking forward to hear from Sue. How will our cycling network accommodate seniors of all ages and abilities, as Lori was mentioning?
Well, some of you may know that we started work on a cycling master plan last year. And what we're looking at is how to transform our community over the next 20 years to become more bicycle friendly. We've been working on this for quite some time. We're already a bronze bicycle friendly community. And and so we're striving for gold, and the cycling master plan will map out how we're going to get there. And one of the things that surveys across the province, but also locally indicate, is that people want to ride more. It's one of their really big dreams, actually, is that they want to ride more. When the city did a huge public consultation, we worked on Vision 2025, which is the plan for our recreation culture and leisure investments over the next few years. Cycling came out on top, and particularly trails, for what people are interested in. And what people are saying is they do want to ride more, but they don't want to ride with traffic. So if they're not on a multi-use trail, they'd like to be along a street that provides actually physical separation from vehicles. People are usually pretty good with riding along local residential streets, but once it gets into a bigger street, they want that physical separation. So in the cycling master plan, we're actually looking at developing core routes across the city that are what we call all ages and abilities. So it means that people can use that kind of bike infrastructure that's separated from traffic, no matter whether they're a small child who wants to bike to school or to visit a friend, or whether it's an older person who wants to keep their transportation options. They like to ride a bike. One thing that I witness is that while many of us drive a car, some people already, whether they can drive or not, they take some trips by walking, biking, transit along. And the seniors that I see that transition well into older seniorhood, when driving is maybe not as comfortable or desirable or possible, that they can then transition more readily into walking, biking, and taking transit. They're already familiar with the system. They've kept in shape enough to walk and bike. They know how transit works. So they're all right with taking it. And it doesn't keep them in an island at their home as much as people who have only relied on their vehicle.
That's very true. Safety is one of the reasons why someone would or would not cycle. If they didn't feel safe, that would just not be an option for them. So I think that's a really good point. What are some of the trail projects from last year, and what can we look forward to for this year?
Well, we live in a really wonderful community. In fact, some people don't realize that a lot of our trails have actually been donated by some philanthropists. And last year, these wonderful people donated another trail in our community. It's called the Roper Park Trail, and it's in the west end of the city near Ravenwood Drive and Park Hill Road. And that trail really serves the neighborhoods around there really well. And when I go there, I'm just amazed at the number of people on this sort of small 1 kilometer trail that links some neighborhoods, and it also links down to the Trans-Canada Trail near Park Hill. And it's so heartwarming to see that, as soon as it's built, almost right behind the paving machine is like little kids on bikes, older people walking their dogs, like whole families. It's really great. And we have seen, especially during COVID, that while many of our recreational opportunities aren't available to us, the trails are open 24/7, and people are embracing them like they never have before. So while we have a sort of a quiet trail, neighborhood trail through a park, we also built last year a new multi-use trail on the south side of Lansdowne Street between River Road and Ashburnham Drive. And this is a section of road that was missing a sidewalk. So it was a high priority in our sidewalk strategic plan for building a sidewalk. There was actually kind of a bank down to the road, so even walking on the grass was very uncomfortable on that section of road. But we knew that there was high demand because there was a big footpath there that you could see. We also know that biking on that section of Lansdowne Street is beyond many people's comfort level. So we built a multi-use trail there. We had some funding from the province, and I'm really proud of it. It's quite a great trail, and that's more of a trail that you would use functionally, like to get to the grocery store over at the Willow Creek Plaza, or to get to the hardware store or Tim Hortons or any of the services that are along there. And we have heard from quite a few people that they're really grateful to have that new option available to them. The other trail that we are working on is the extension of the Crawford Trail. So last year we were able to build 2 blocks of it, but we're still working on some property issues and looking for more funding to finish the rest of the trail. So the Crawford Trail that exists today, it starts near Costco on Crawford Drive, and then it extends along behind north to Lansdowne Place Mall at Monaghan Road. And eventually that trail will come right along the old railway corridor there and link up at Townsend Street and Bethune Street. And if you're not aware, there's a really incredible project happening along Bethune Street. If you've been around there, you'll notice there's some construction. You might be wondering what's going on. They're ripping up the whole street and placing a big culvert there under the road that will prevent the downtown from getting as much flooding in future big rain events. And when they lay it back down on top, it's going to look completely different. It's not going to be that industrial old road that once was a railway. It's going to be what we call a bicycle priority street. So it'll be set up for pedestrians and cyclists to sort of be top dog on that street. And there'll actually be a couple blocks of road that are closed to cars. It'll be a trail and there'll be landscaping. And we're really looking forward to the new Bethune-scape when it's finished.
When I was choosing to move to Peterborough, one of the reasons why we decided to be here was the trail system and just being able to ride and having so many off-road options. So I'm really impressed with the cycling plan. And there's a map, there's a wonderful map of all the trails and cycling routes that that's available for people if they'd like to pick that up. Catherine, a significant number of seniors are choosing to retire to our beautiful rural areas outside the city. So what are the challenges in ensuring they continue to have transportation into the city for social and essential purposes?
Well, the first thing I would suggest to seniors who are relocating into the county area is to get connected with community care. You know, not just for transportation, but for all of the services and programs that we offer to connect socially, but also to meet your safety needs at home. Like I said, community care has a unique opportunity to respond in unique ways based on what individuals need. In terms of transportation, our number one, it's not a barrier, but it's something we have our eyes on all the time, is volunteer recruitment. For each one of our communities, we have drivers available, and we're also able to provide a unique response. If someone is more able to get in and out of a driver's vehicle that is a van, perhaps we're able to match that way, versus if somebody has a lower riding, smaller sedan style car. So volunteers is very important, and it's also a great way for new people to local communities to get involved with their community and to meet people. And stay connected within their local communities. Our volunteers are very connected with everything that's going on in town. And if they don't have the answer to anyone's question, they'll certainly find the answer. So yeah, my response would be get connected with community care at the local office. And if you're not able to figure out which office best suits where you live, then contact our main office in Peterborough and we'll help you get that figured out.
And as you mentioned, volunteerism is just very critical to being engaged in the community. Oh, Robin, I know you'll be looking for volunteers for the Ride With Me program. And how can somebody get involved with that program?
So if somebody wants to be a mentor, they can contact either Age Friendly Peterborough, or they can contact the Center for Persons, or the Council for Persons with Disabilities are also into it, or else they can contact us directly. If they want to call us and let us know, then we can put them on a list. And when we start up our training, we'll for sure reach out to them.
Mm-hmm. Sue as well, their volunteers are instrumental in many of the plans and the cycling groups that we have. What volunteer options are available with you?
Well, that's a really good question. There's a Peterborough Bicycle Advisory Committee that has representatives from many different sectors representing the city and county of Peterborough. And so there's a little bit of capacity for volunteers in that organization. It doesn't have a staff person, so fairly low level. One of the members of the Peterborough Bicycle Advisory Committee is the community bike shop, Bike, and they rely quite heavily on volunteers. And as somebody who didn't really aspire to working on my own bike, I've become pretty in love with when my bike needs to be fixed, because I head on down to the community bike shop and it has such wonderful energy. And the volunteers there are some of the happiest that I've seen. So that's another place that people can volunteer. We are going to be looking for volunteers to help with our nationwide Canadian bicycle count on June 1st. So anybody could contact me if they're interested in that. It's the first time we have an organization nationally now. It's called Vélo Canada Bikes, and they're organizing this nationwide bike count on June 1st. Yeah, and the other thing is just to support other people that you know who ride. Like, it sounds silly, but one of the things that people have the most trouble with is pumping up their bike tires. So if you are a cyclist who knows how to pump up your bike tires and you know other cyclists, connect with them and help them out. There's a few of my neighbors who, whenever they need their bike tires pumped up, they come on over and I help them out. And eventually one day they're going to be experts too. But it's surprising that I remember one of the bike guys at Wild Rock Outfitters used to say that there's one thing that can surely make a grown man cry, and that's to try to pump up their bike tires and be unsuccessful. So not to be daunting, but it is something that is important. Bike tires actually do go down in air pressure and need to be pumped up about every month. So it's, if you're feeling out of shape and you're riding your bike, it's often because your bike tires are really low.
Right. And safety is as well being important to do a once over of your bike and wear your helmet. Give a little plug in for that. Well, I thank our panelists for talking to us about many transportation options that we have available. And there's lots of resources that people can get and contact any of our panelists. I will pass it back to Tiffany.
Excellent, wonderful information on our transportation access, volunteer opportunities. We are grateful to all of our panelists today. Thank you so much for joining us. The 2021 Senior Showcase, of course, we are thankful for the Peterborough Chamber of Commerce and the partnership with Age Friendly Peterborough, bringing this series of events to our community. Of course, with the help of our sponsors, Trent Security, Living Well Home Medical Equipment, the Gardens of Peterborough, Oldies 96.7, and ptbotoday.ca. Watch the workshops, view the exhibitor videos, check out the exclusive digital offerings, all at the Senior Showcase the entire month of June. The details, information, everything you need, peterboroughamber.ca, and just click on 2021 Senior Showcase. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our panel discussion today on transportation. If you're looking for the contact information or resources, there will be a PDF with this video, so you'll see that there. Have a great day, everyone.